I love Death Note, the anime and manga that is. So that's why I was worried when I heard Netflix was adapting it. Live action anime adaptations haven't always done well, and earlier this year's Ghost in the Shell adaptation, another series which I love, was very mediocre. That's why I was severely disappointed when I saw that Netflix's Death Note was just another boring adaptation which misunderstands a lot of what made the source material so great. Obviously, there are many changes now that Death Note is set in Seattle. In the original, there's more than one Death Note and there's Shinigami Eyes. Well, forget all about that because this plot is very basic. I think this was a change for the better, seeing how this is a 1 hour and 40-minute movie, not a series. That does bring up my biggest issue. Death Note is a long and at times complicated plot, and to shorten it into a single movie means there's going to be compromises. The last 20 minutes or so of the adaptation does its own thing, which would be fine, but there's a chase scene between Lionel with synthwave playing in the background. Not what comes to mind when I think of Death Note. I also feel like the studio behind this movie thought that the audience couldn't handle just drama, so they had to add someone die gruesomely instead of the trademark heart attack. I mean, the first kill, which is just a school bully by the way, dies by decapitation. Like, wow, I think that's a bit overkill. So let's talk about the characters now. Light was so misunderstood by the writers, it's hilariously bad. Light lacks the defining traits from his original counterpart. He's not charismatic, confident, sociopath genius. He's your typical nerd who's a loner and gets beat up. The whole act as Kira is very underdeveloped. Too, Light doesn't come off menacing or even strong, even with the power to kill anyone. The writers didn't understand this character. The worst example is when Light voluntarily confesses he owns the Death Note to Mia, Netflix's take on Misa. I get that he's been adapted for a different culture, but his key feature is being smart, not angsty, and we don't really get to see Light being smart at all until maybe the end. Speaking about Mia, the relationship between her and Light feels forced and unbelievable. Again, in the original there's a more ulterior motive for being with Misa. Here, it's a romantic relationship with no chemistry. Even forgetting about the anime and manga, am I really meant to believe as soon as Light tells Mia he's Kira, she's going down with him? L, on the other hand, was one of the more decent characters. I liked how they kept his quirkiness and how his character gets pushed to the edge. It's different and one of the interesting things this movie does. However, he did have a few weird scenes like chasing Light down with a gun. I'm not sure what was up with that. And they also shove in L's orphanage origins, which comes off awkwardly, to say the least. And, of course, I have to talk about Ryuk. William Dafoe has the perfect voice for Ryuk, but it's a shame he only shows up for maybe 10 minutes in an entire movie. When he does show up, you can barely see him clearly. I guess the CGI for him was eating up the budget. Also, he's now more of a manipulative figure than a bystander like in the originals. On a more technical side of things, I think it was fine. The cinematography had some nice looking scenes, like that one scene when the FBI agents jump off a building. That was pretty cool. The soundtrack fit. I never really felt like the music was out of place, aside from the synthwave track I mentioned earlier. Really, the main problem with this movie comes down to the fact it's a movie, not a series. Things happen too fast, characters are too different, and don't get enough time to be fleshed out and understood. Death Note is at its best when it's a psychological game of cat and mouse, but this concept barely exists. The battle of wits between Lionel is cut short due to a third party. There's simply not enough runtime and development for anything the characters do to feel impactful. So would I recommend this? If you already have a Netflix account, you've got nothing to lose except 2 hours, but don't sign up just to watch this. However, if the concept of Death Note does interest you, I recommend you watch the anime if you haven't already. It's a much more complex and rewarding show than this mediocre adaptation. Hey, thanks for watching this. I know this is a bit of a short video, but I didn't want to make a video just nitpicking all the differences between this and the anime. Uh, yeah, I wanted to look at this as its own thing, but sometimes I did have to draw back to the original source material, for example, Light's personality, because I think that's just such a integral part of Death Note, and to have it be different is just a lack of understanding of the source material. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for future content like this. If you disagreed or agreed with me, then please feel free to leave a comment down below, and I hope I'll see you guys again next time.